Originally, I had talked about extending this piece right out here and using this hole for my cab mount, but I decided that I would rather use the holes that the Crown Victoria used for the cab mount. And so what I've done is I've taken a piece of iron here, and I've actually cut a groove in this original mount so that I can slide this metal inside of here so that it is sandwiched in between these two pieces of original cab mount. Now, what I did, this had two bolts or two holes in it that were used to mount the cab originally to the frame. And so what I did was I took this piece of metal and I drilled a couple of holes in it and I tapped it, and I used those bolts to bolt that down to this original cab mount here. And then I drilled this hole and mounted the mount bushing here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back through and I'm going to weld this along this section right here. I'll weld it in the bottom, and I'll also take the bolts out of the bottom and plug weld that. Then what I'm going to do is I'll take this piece of metal and I'll build me a couple of wings right here to give this some extra strength. So the position of the original cab mount here in the rear is right here. There's another one over here on this side. What I'm probably going to do is go ahead and cut the cross member out of the truck frame, and then I will mount that cross member here with the mounts in place, and I'll come off of here and I'll make me a support that runs back across to the top of my frame right here, and then I'll weld that in place. So what building this cross member here does is it gives me my cab mounts in pretty much the original position that they were on the truck. It allows me to strengthen this frame just a little bit. This is a pretty decent frame, but it doesn't have a lot of cross members here in this section right here. And so this cross member is actually going to add us a little bit of strength to the frame as well. This Crown Victoria frame is a little bit longer in the front than the pickup frame was, and the body is also going to set down a little bit further, especially on this front part. My intention is to replace this radiator core support because it's not in really good shape. And so what I decided to do was to go ahead and mount the fenders to the truck and then install this core support. And I cut out parts of this core support so that I could get it set exactly where it needs to set. And then I came through here and I marked where I want to cut the frame. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this frame back about 9.5 inches. But I am going to cut the top half of this frame out back that far, and then I'm going to leave the rest of this frame. I'm going to go ahead and cut straight across right here, and then that should give me the things that I need to have in order to mount my bumper and a couple of other things. I can always take more material off, but I can't put material back in. So I'm going to leave some material in here so that when I get things set, then I can determine exactly where I want to cut more. One of the things that I needed to do when I started to mount this core support is I needed to go ahead and clean this frame up just a little bit. So this had the original front end mount welded right here. So I came in and cut that off of there. So another thing that I had to do, this radiator and condenser, and it also has a transmission cooler and a power steering cooler in it. It originally set about where this core support is sitting now, so I needed to move it back a little bit, so I just took all of the mounts off of it and just slid it back into place, and then I will come back through and figure out exactly what it's going to take to get it mounted up once I have the pickup core support mounted in. Thanks for spending a little time with us here in the Man Cave. Appreciate you watching our videos. Please hit the like or subscribe buttons, and also leave comments. I will try and respond to your comments, and leave me ideas for videos and I will try and make them happen.